It's 8:38. Good morning to you. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Shall we have a look at today's newspapers for you? First of all, have a look at this lovely photo on the front page of many of the papers today. Prince William with his 3 children in Windsor to mark Father's Day, of course. So happy Father's Day to anyone watching who's a dad or has a dad.
The Mail on Sunday has an extraordinary aerial view of the Red Arrows over the Mall and Buckingham Palace yesterday. I love the Red Arrows.
And little cheeky Louis, says the Sunday Express, with lovely shots of the young prince stealing the show, of course, again. All the photographers were on him, weren't they? At the Trooping of the Colour, doing a salute, which is either an American or a Royal Navy salute. We can't make up our minds.
Yes, the Sunday Mirror has pictures on its front page from that bombshell video showing Conservative staff boozing and dancing at the height of the pandemic. On that, Jill's been in touch. Hi, Jill. Says, I was of the view that we should let the issue of Partygate rest, but now I'm really angry having seen the video of drunk idiots at a party. My mum died alone of COVID in a care home. In her last days, we could only talk to her through a window. We couldn't hold her hand or hug her. I wonder how many of these hypocrites are still working from home. Fair point.
I know.
It is a fair point.
We're joined by Tom Slater from Spiked and Dawn Neeson, who, of course, used to edit the Daily Star. I just wanted to ask you, because Jenny has also emailed in saying, the person who took that video, did they give it to the police or to the Mirror? Which one first? What's the rule on that? If it's something to do with what could be a crime, if you were offered it as a newspaper editor, would you have to show it to the police?
It depends on the crime, and I can't remember at what stage we were at when that video was taken, whether it was a level 2. I mean, I know the social distancing applied, what bubbles were allowed. I can't remember, and the sort of like, you know, if these people had worked together all week, were they then still be allowed to be in the same room? I mean,
do you know, I don't think anyone knows the answer.
Well, this is the problem. The rules were so insane and so impossible to follow.
But you shouldn't be cuddling up
no,
like that.
No, of course not. No, of course not. And it's like it's the arrogance, the hypocrisy, and the contempt with which they hold all of us. Oh. That is what gets people annoyed so much.
Arrogance, hypocrisy, and contempt. Let's talk about water bosses.
Oh God, yeah, shall we?
This is in Daily Star Sunday. The water bosses who, you know, aren't building reservoirs and aren't fixing the massive leaks in this country want us to grass up our neighbours.
Yes, this is the same water bosses who paid themselves 16.8 billion in dividends over the past 11 years. To be fair, it's 11 years. But, anyways, this is South East Water, who have a hosepipe ban coming in next week, which is officially the first week of summer. And they are encouraging people who live in this area, I think it's about 500,000 households in this particular area, to grass, see what I did there, on their neighbours if they catch them breaking the hosepipe ban. They've actually got a hotline where they're encouraging people to phone up. If you see your neighbour actually, you know, watering their dahlias, to actually phone up and grasp. But the thing is, going back to the whole Partygate thing, people were doing that very easily during COVID, weren't they? You did get people actually phoning up and saying, my neighbour's in their back garden, they've got a mate round. You got people doing that. It's amazing how quickly we came into that. So this is this story, basically. You are being encouraged, yet another, but your point is so right, Stephen. I mean, you know, the boss of this particular water company is on £360,000 a year. And, you know, the water companies, they've got one job, right? Get clean water to us, take the dirty stuff away.
Yeah.
And they just can't do it. I mean,
fix the leaks.
Well, this is the problem. This is where all the water's going. This is why we've got bans. It's not that we're all wasteful with it. It's just that they are not running their companies properly, but paying themselves huge money. 400,000 sewage leaks alone during 2020.
But what do we think of the morality of them telling us to grass up our neighbours?
Well, would you do it?
No, I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't.
No.
And also, as you were saying there, Dawn, you know, the issues throughout the whole system with leakages and so on, the idea that your next door neighbour and her hosepipe is the main issue, so much so that you should actually dobber into the water companies or the authorities or something. It's ridiculous.
And there's a £1,000 fine as well you can get for doing that.
It's dreadful.
Meanwhile, they're paying themselves billions.
I was alarmed during the pandemic how easily people slipped into that curtain twitching, snitching thing, even for things which were relatively minor.
Oh, my neighbour's gone jogging twice today.
And actually, Anthony called in about 3 hours ago. Hi, Anthony, if you're still watching. He said, my mother's neighbours were having friends around for parties every other weekend through lockdown. And I remember, I remember being aware of parties going on quite near me.
The thing is, Anne, a lot of people were bending the rules because a lot of people, certainly as the pandemic went on, were aware the rules were maybe slightly nonsensical, some of them. So a lot of people were bending the rules, but we weren't the ones setting them. And that's the difference.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And they risked being fined because.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, Darren says about that. Arrest all of them and fine them because that's what happens to the general public all the time.
£10,000 in some cases. There was a couple of students in Nottingham.
Students,
Yes,
remember,
Like we had about 30 people around.
And they should get that money back now, Tom.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Life-ruining amount of money.
Meanwhile, talking of things like that, the honours row, Boris Johnson's honours list still goes on causing problems.
It is.
What's this one?
So this is about Charlotte Owen, who is at the ripe old age of 29, is going to be ennobled and join the House of Lords as a life peer. So this is it initially sparks a interest because of how young she is, and people thinking this is a bit of a strange appointment on the basis of that. Since then, the story has developed because of how junior it seems like she was within Number 10. So there's quotes here of people saying she was essentially a kind of executive assistant rather than actually a special advisor. There's some discrepancy or debate about how long she was actually on staff there. Her LinkedIn profile says one thing, the kind of register of Number 10 says another. And on the one hand, this does strike many people as kind of odd, confusing. Is it just because he was quite particularly took to this particular aid that he decided to again?
Yes, what makes her so special, in other words?
Exactly, and a lot of questions have been raised about that. But I do think that the problem is really the House of Lords, really. I mean, it's full of people whose only qualification to be there is that they gave the Labour Party or the Lib Dems or the Conservatives a lot of money. There's loads of people who were there because they were friends or have hung around the system long enough. In a sense, I think putting age to one side, and the thought of someone younger than me in the House of Lords makes me feel very old. But it's still the fact that you think, you know, the qualifications for people to actually have sway over how our laws are made are so low at this point. Surely the joke is on us for having the House of Lords as it's currently constituted, rather than.
It also degrades some of the very good work done by some of the Lords in there. I mean, I know some, and they do a fantastic job. They spend all day there, heading committees, sorting out, doing research, and some of them take their job very seriously.
And some of them turn up and claim 300 quid for doing nothing.
And then go and leave and don't do anything. And I think that's the problem with it. I think there are some obviously very committed public servants in there, but at the same time, I think they would be, their efforts would be best spent being either elected politicians or having some other kind of figure in public life.
Politicians.
I don't think elected helps. It's meant to be a revising chamber full of experts.
But it's not that, is it?
But it's not.
And as bad as the elected Commons is, at least we can get rid of them. That's where.
Well,
Joe Johnson's in there, Boris's brother, isn't he?
Yeah.
Tries to get his dad in there, sister next.
well,
the other family relatives.
Well, I don't know about his sister. She was a Lib Dem for a while, wasn't she?
I don't think it matters.
Don't think it matters.
Change UK for a bit as well. She was a candidate.
Let's have a look at the Mirror, just because of the headline, if nothing else. Lags, pen, gags.
I love this story. Absolutely, yeah. This is HMP High Point in Suffolk.
Oh, we've got a picture of Ronnie Barker.
Yeah, absolutely. Inmates doing porridge can sign up for lessons in how to create scripts like porridge.
Yeah.
I'm not making this up. The Mirror wrote that, by the way. And if you remember porridge, people remember porridge, do they?
Of course,
Yeah, we do. But we're Tom.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, thank God for that. And basically, it's part of the rehabilitation course they're doing. They can also learn construction skills, food safety, and things like that. But comedy script writing is one of the courses offered in conjunction with the Open University Distance Learning. And I think it's a fun little story, but I think it's a good idea. Why not?
Anything that gets them interested in doing something constructive or learning English.
Why not? I mean, if prison is obviously about punishment, but also about rehabilitation, then
No,
they could be writing your gags for you, Stephen.
They could. Oh, I wish I had a script writer. Off the gags.
So do we.
No, I know a lot of people get very, very hard on criminals, but at the end of the day, you either lock them up for the rest of their lives, or you have to help them come out and live a productive life in society.
And if they're doing a course on written English or whatever,
exactly.
then obviously comedy is a very important part of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We get very judgmental. But how many of you watching or listening out have got a relative or a friend or someone who who's been to prison at some point? Quite a few.
Yeah, I must admit, a member of my own family went to prison, and he was lucky enough to do a music course in there, and he could play the guitar in any case, learnt to play the guitar, and has now got a career in music.
Yeah.
And has never
See, that's
done anything wrong.
It's a good outcome, isn't it?
That's absolutely good, Anne, absolutely.
Stayed on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
So a bit of ice cream.
Yeah. Is cone too far? Is the headline?
Oh, come on.
So this is Michael Gove. He's hitting out at Greenwich Council. So this story people may have seen. They've banned ice cream vans on the grounds that obviously they're sat there with the engine running. So it's bad for the environment as far as they see it. And it's just given the Conservatives a bit of an open goal really on this issue, because no one looks more killjoy than someone who's banning ice cream vans on environmental grounds. I think the quote from Greenwich Council is, "We need to stop unnecessary engine idling." And you think this is ridiculous, really. And also, it's the story here is kind of linking it together with with the kind of drumbeat towards the London mayoral election, all of the two things that it seems like the vying Conservative candidates coming out very strongly against, one of which is ULEZ expansion, the other one is pro-ice cream vans. And it seems like that could be a winning ticket.
It could be a winning ticket.
Yeah.
There is a sense, though, that kind of Sadiq Khan's London, obviously this is just a Labour council, it's not something that's been centrally dictated, but that it's just interested in any kind of killjoyish, authoritarian, clampdown thing going, and I think the Conservatives are trying to make hay out of that, definitely, understandably so.
Just in 30 seconds, Dawn, in the sun, saucy gags on Bake Off.
I knew you were trying to put this one off, weren't you? Because I was going to mention your spotted dick, love. Basically, this is the story, right? Prue Leith has got a new co-host with her on Bake Off, Alison Hammond, who's very funny. Sorry, you did ask for it.
I told you that in confidence.
And Prue has given an interview saying, basically, I'm really glad I got another woman on board because all the puns and double entendres the men were coming up with, I didn't understand most of them. So things like soggy bottoms and things like that. Shall I stop now, Stephen?
It's not often I'm lost for words. Honest to God, you're never coming back. You're never ever coming back on this show.
Until the next time.
Till the next time, yeah, see you next Friday. Lovely, thank you both very much indeed.